Hello, dosto. This is Ajay, and we are back with another podcast on how to prepare for PhD programs in big universities. Like you must be have heard of MIT, Stanford, Cambridge, and so on. And you must be like preparing for how difficult it is that to get into those PhD programs. So today we have a guest from Cambridge University, and she is actually pursuing PhD in that eminent organization. So let's talk with her and see how to prepare for the PhD programs for that big universities. So today we have Paula with us, and our topic is going to be how to prepare for the PhD for the big organizations or the big universities. So let's give your little introduction about yourself, Paula, and then we can start it.
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. It's great to be here. I'm excited to talk to you about this. And yes, I am Paula. I am from Spain. I'm from a little city in the Mediterranean coast, close to Valencia. Although I've been living in the UK for almost 7 years now, and I'm about to finish now my PhD at the Cambridge Stem Cell Institute, which is part of the University of Cambridge. So, well, I was always curious about how the human body works, right? And that's what motivated me to study biomedical sciences, which at the time, really, it wasn't a very common degree in Spain. I first heard about it the summer before I started university, actually. And it was only in a city in the north of Spain, about 700 kilometers away from my hometown. But I heard about the subjects that it involved, and I was so fascinated, I just decided to pack my things and go there. Moving around wasn't never a problem for me. It was quite the opposite. I was also motivated to learn about a new city, and I was happy to do that. A really good thing about my undergrad degree that I would recommend anyone was that from the very beginning, it really promoted us to do internships, do research interns, even if it was just a month summer internship. That really gives you an idea of how the research world works and whether you like it.
And what one more thing we would like to know, what is your research topic and your research field you are going to do? And
So, well, after my undergrad degree, I moved to London to do a master's. In this case, it was a master's on cancer biology. Yes, it was a master of research involving also like hands-on experience. And well, after my master's, I wasn't so sure I wanted to do a PhD. So I moved to Cambridge to work as a research assistant at the Cambridge Stem Cell Institute. And it was after a few months there, actually, that I made up my mind and I decided that I really liked the topic, the stem cell research field. And I decided to commit to a PhD. And so my program was pretty broad, and it allowed you to do a few rotations during the first year, and then you would choose a specific lab for your PhD. And in my case, I went for a lab where we study adult stem cells, and we studied how those can, well, specifically my PhD project is about how adult stem cells can totally reshape their identity when they are exposed to a new environment. So I basically study how these cells change their fate when they are in a new tissue. That's the kind of work that I'm doing.
Yeah, very beautiful introduction, Paula. That's very good. So let's go to the first question. How did you prepare for your PhD, and is the same kind of preparation is required for the big universities like MIT, Stanford, CMU, and Cambridge, Oxford?
Okay. Yeah. As I said, I was already working in Cambridge when I decided I wanted to go for a PhD, and I wanted it to be at the institute that I was working. So I only applied for PhDs, for 2 PhD programs actually here in Cambridge. But having said that, I don't think the preparation should vary massively between different universities. I think that's pretty general. I think it could vary more depending on the specific program. So, for example, in my case, I applied for one program that was to work on a specific project at a laboratory, at a specific team. And so that preparation involved a lot of reading, specific reading about that topic, right? Reading papers and reviews about the topic, because I knew the interview was going to be very much focused on that. While the program that I eventually went for, it was way broader. So it was a 1+3 year program, and they were looking for people, applicants that had a broad research in the stem cell field. So then I had to work on more kind of being up to date, right, about the latest research in stem cell biology. And for that, what I did was, first of all, a very important step is to make connections, right, in the department or the institute that you want to apply for, to try to talk to as many people as possible and gather information about their experiences, the type of interests also that the department has, right? Because even if you are interested in a field globally, like they generally have 3 or 4 strategic topics that they are interested in, and also find out about their values, right? What type of applicant they are interested in, what kind of profile they are looking for. And so that was one of the things. I talked to a lot of people, and in my case, working already at the institute, that was an advantage, I guess. But people can also do that through LinkedIn, or there are many other options. And then the other thing I did was to listen to podcasts about stem cell research, or even follow people through social media, right? People that are leaders in the field, that may share information that you are interested in. So lots of preparation, definitely. And then just work a lot, right, on the application, the CV, the cover letter, and then practice the interview a lot.
Yes, amazing answer, Paula. Amazing. So there's certain points we got it. Like we have to maintain our networking, and in the side by side we have to keep following the leaders of that particular field. Suppose if we are preparing for if we want to pursue PhD in regenerative medicine, then we have to see who are the leaders in that field, and so accordingly we can follow them on LinkedIn, Facebook, or social media, and whatever they are posting, will come to know, okay, what kind of interest they are having and what kind of skills they want in that field. So that's a good thing. And secondly thing you said, prepare your CV well. Like if you're applying for 5 positions, then we have to make 5 CVs differently for each universities. Definitely we have to change certain things.
Tailored, right, towards that specific program, that specific topic, that
yes. And the common eligibility will be same for all the big universities. Like if you prepare for MIT, Stanford, CMU, or Oxford, or Cambridge, so certain eligibility will be same, but the difference will be of their own criteria. Like some professor will see what research interest you have, or what research proposal you have submitted. Maybe based on that they will judge. And it's about the best fit only. Like if your research problem, your skills, your experience, your publication match with the corresponding supervisor, definitely they will take you. Otherwise you have to search for the best fit for that, for yourself, for your research. That's good. And okay, that's a very beautiful answer, Paula. Let's go to the
so many things. Involve so many things, right? So I hope I summarized that.
Yes, exactly, perfect. How is working as a PhD student in big universities, and what edge do you see over other universities? Like suppose we are working in a top 10 universities, and how research in that universities are different from research happening in above 500 rank of universities. So how does it make a difference? Yeah.
Okay. So I don't think that research should vary massively between different universities. We all try to do good science, right, and make meaningful research that will impact, either health or engineering or whatever topic you are studying. In terms of studying in Cambridge compared to other universities that may not rank so highly, um, I guess it's maybe easier to get funding to go to international conferences, for example. Um, Cambridge, for example, is really good also at, well, you have so many options in terms of college funding. The college community is really important. And it's such a vibrant community, right? Being in such a
Yes,
big
yes.
university where there's so much research and good research going on across so many fields. But that may happen also at a smaller university, even if it's not so famous. So I really don't think the university should be the driving force to choosing a specific PhD as much as the supervisor or the team that you are going to be working in or the topic, for example.
Yes, exactly. A beautiful answer and precisely answer. Like I also had this intuition in my mind. Like the university tag will matter, but not too much, because when we are working as a PhD students, our main focus will be on publishing the paper in high impact journal. In that case, your supervisor, like how frequently you are meeting with your supervisor and how much you are discussing with him, that is going to be make a difference. Obviously, like this funding part and getting the context for some other big organizations will create a difference between the ranking, but not too much. So like finally we can complete this answer. Like it is not much different. Like if you're pursuing your PhD at top 10 universities of the world, or some other like above 500 ranking universities of the world, so it doesn't make a difference. So the difference is creating by a potential supervisor only. So here
I mean,
comes
of
to the
course,
next. Yeah,
there are some
yeah.
differences, but I think they are not so relevant as other matters, such as a supervisor, for example. Yes, I totally agree.
Yes, exactly. And here comes to the next question, which is very relevant to this one, or maybe a proceeding one. How to choose a potential supervisor and what role they play in PhD students' life?
Yeah, that's a central. That's a very important question, because the supervisor is gonna play a key part in your life as a PhD student. So you really want to make sure you choose it well.
Yes.
Um, and this is a part that sometimes it is underestimated, I think, by applicants. They may be, like they may be so focused on a specific university or a specific topic, and they forget a bit about the importance of like having a good mentor and a good supervisor. Um, so for me, the most important thing was to make sure that, well, of course, that scientifically that person does good research, but that's well, I want to say, yeah, perhaps that's for granted, right? When you are in a certain environment. But the other important part of it for me was to find someone that I shared values with in terms of working values. For me, for example, it was very important to work somewhere where collaboration is promoted rather than competition. I don't like to work in a competitive environment. So that was one of the things. Then also someone that I could communicate well with, that we had a good understanding of what we wanted, and we had regular meetings and catch-ups. And I would say also something that is important for a PhD supervisor is some degree of emotional intelligence, right? Because you are
Yes.
like being a group leader, it will certainly be probably be a good researcher and a smart and intelligent person, but it's not for granted that they will have emotional intelligence. And as a PhD student, you also need that kind of support in a supervisor. And then other than that, well, in my personal situation, I like working with people that I like also at the personal level. So for me, it was also
Yes.
important to go out with my supervisor for a coffee, for example, before committing to the PhD, and making sure, that there was a good connection kind of thing. And the best way to find out those things is to be there, right? To to have some kind of interaction with that person, either through an internship, through work experience, or just talking to the people that work with that person and asking them about how it is to work with that supervisor, what kind of atmosphere there is in the team. So yeah, just gaining exposure, I guess.
Yes, that's good. Like building connection with a supervisor and getting to know like whether he's going to be best for us for the rest of the 3 years or not. So in the same thing, we can go for some 6 months of internship or like a pre-PhD program. So like there's certain PhD programs are going on, or candidate may go for the internship of 6 months. In the meantime, he or she will get to know okay what kind of connection they're going to have. So as per their understanding and their relation, they can see okay he's going to be the perfect fit for me for the rest of my PhD program. That may be 3 or 5 years, because we cannot commit 5 years of like relationship with someone we don't know. So in that case, we have to know that one.
It can make your life so miserable, right? So you really want to make
Yes.
sure it's a good match. It's almost like dating, right? You want to make sure
Yes.
that's the person.
Yes, exactly. So it's like it's even it's if there is a saying like if you are searching for your special one, you may take 6 months or 1 year of time. But if you are searching for your PhD supervisor, just take 2 years, but get the best one, because that 3 or 4 years are going to make your whole life, give a direction to your whole life. It's good.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it's gonna be difficult, right? A PhD, you're always gonna go through struggles and you're gonna face failure multiple times. So you want to make sure that your supervisor is gonna be there, is gonna support you, is gonna advise you. So yeah, definitely central part.
Yes. Yes. Also, one more point, like IQ won't work if you don't have a high EQ, emotional quotient. So, as you said, like this emotional quotient values more than the IQ. If a person is very intelligent, but he is not emotionally stable, he is not going to use his intelligence with a consistency. So that EQ is going to matter a lot in this case. It's a long, like it's a long race. Okay, let's go to the next one. Some people don't apply for the PhD program just after their bachelor's or master's because they feel they don't have a publication to go in a big universities. Like um, uh, this is the main reason they will just first go to some industry or internship or in academia to gain a research publications. So is it true? Like, we should have some at least one single publication to apply for the PhD program.
No, absolutely not. No, like don't be put off by big universities just because you don't have a publication. It's definitely not necessary at all. I would say most of my colleagues, when I started the PhD, didn't have a publication. Definitely, most of them. I had one from my master's, and perhaps that helped, but it definitely wasn't key for the success of my application. I would say, well, when you're applying for a PhD, as when you're applying for a job, it's important to kind of sit at the other side of the table, right? And think about what the selection committee is expecting and what they are interested in. And in that sense, I think for a PhD, the critical things that they are looking for is curiosity. You want, a student that is curious of knowledge and of learning. Enthusiasm, right? You want someone that is self-motivated, because that's what will get you through the tough times along your PhD. And then some degree of commitment, of course, to that subject. And a publication can be a good example of those, but there are many other ways to show that you are committed, enthusiastic, motivated. So yeah, I would say I even had colleagues that started their PhD straight from their undergrad. Most of them had master's degree, but some of them went straight from their undergrad. So definitely no publication needed.
Okay, I get it. So like we got the very beautiful answer. Like we don't need publication for that. If you have interest in that field, somehow like if you have published some blog or like some speeches, some webinars, if you have given like anything, you just need to show
Yeah,
that you are very interested about that field. You don't
absolutely.
need publication for that.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
good.
you need some evidence, right? So you cannot just say,
Yes.
"I'm super interested." That's
Yes.
some piece of evidence, but of course, a blog, a podcast, um, just having participated in conferences or attended certain seminars. There are so many ways in which you can show you are interested in something. So it's you have to think it through and kind of work on that storyline that you will then somehow sell, right, to the selection
Yes,
committee
yes.
so that they select you. You have to convince them that you are one of the best candidates for that program.
The supervisor basically generally expect you should have done at least a pre-research before joining the program. So what is that pre-research required?
Okay, so the research that you would require to join the program. Yes, like generally nowadays I think it is kind of expected that you have a master's degree, and normally masters do have some type of internship, right? Some part of practical experience. But as long as you have that experience, even if it's from your undergrad, that experience together with good records or good extracurricular activities may be enough for your PhD program. So yeah, I don't think there's a specific, one thing that would fit any PhD program. It's all, of course, a bit program dependent. And that's where it is so important to do a good research on what that program is looking for, right? Talking to the students
Yes.
in that program and asking them how their application process was, what the program focuses are, and what they expect from students, basically. First, to make sure that you are going to enjoy that program, and second, to be able to convince the panel that you are a good fit for it.
Yes, definitely. This is a very good point that you have raised. Like, we need to know what exactly they are expecting from us, and contacting the already admitted students in that university is going to help a lot.
Yeah, definitely talk to as many people as possible, and of course, if they are in those programs that you are interested in, that's even better.
Yes, that's good. One more question we have, like how much a PhD stipend student, like usually how much a PhD stipend the student get, and how much they are able to save that. Just yeah.
That's totally variable. It depends so much on the country, on the city even, and on the
Let's
specific
talk about the UK or
program.
Europe.
In the UK, so generally speaking, I would say science PhDs are better paid, so the stipend is better than in humanities. Having said that, they can vary as much as £1,000. So I've met PhD students here in Cambridge that have stipends of about not even £1,000, which is really tight to cover your expenses here in Cambridge, to cover the rent, the basic expenses. And then the best paid stipends, I would say, are about £2,000. So there's a big range there.
Yes.
And then with a £2,000 in Cambridge, I would say you can save, yes. So yeah, that varies a lot. And for example, certain funding bodies, if you are studying in London, which is especially expensive, they may increase slightly the stipend. And then there are some programs like mine, for example, although I don't think this is very frequent, that every year they increase slightly the stipend, even if it's a little, like 50 or £100 every year. It's little, but at least it makes you feel like you're progressing somehow also economically. It's fine.
Okay, so let's go to the next question. What are those strategies that you have applied during your PhD, like while you were preparing for the PhD? What are those strategies you applied, and which created a edge over other candidates. So let's say like if there is one position for PhD and 1,000 students apply for that, then how what is that edge that creates that you created over other candidates?
Okay. Well, first of all, a good background and good records are always gonna help. But then, in my opinion, the most important thing to make you, outstanding among 1,000 applications, for example, is to, we touched on this already, really, but make your research, like find out as much as possible what they want, what they are looking for in a student, what are their interests, what are the values that they want to promote in an institute. For example, in my program, if you talk to the PhD students, you find out that they tend to be easygoing kind of people, other than, of course, they have good records, good backgrounds. But you realize that the program has been trying to recruit people that contributes to a good research culture at the institute. They are looking for people that can collaborate, for example, that they can work as part of a team rather than just by themselves and ignoring the rest of the community. So find out about all those things that are important for them, and then, of course, do some degree of self-reflection, right? Do I fit within those values or those requirements? Another thing that I would recommend is to tailor your application. Really, don't try to overdo it and apply to hundreds of PhD programs. It's gonna be impossible to do good applications, right? And so if you are diversifying your energy so much, try to focus your energy on those programs that you are really interested in, and then that's the way to make sure your application is really, really good.
Amazing answer.
Try to find someone as well that knows you well and that knows the niche that you are interested in, that reviews your application, your CV, your cover letter, and then practice your interview a lot. You have to practice your interview and get confident and knowing what you can offer and what are your strengths. I don't think you will ever find a PhD student that tells you that they didn't fail, that they went through some degree of failure during their PhD. For sure, that's an important part of the PhD. I think you learn from failures as well. And you get used to them as well to some point. You still get annoyed, but you kind of, you get used to it to some extent. And for me, what was key when handling these failures, right, mostly at the beginning of my PhD, was to have a good support network. Not only personally, having friends or family that supports you, but at the end of the day, the people that work with you are the ones that go through that as well. They are going through those same feelings and those same failures. So they are the ones that are going to understand you better and that can guide you. So that's why I think it's so important to choose a team and a supervisor that are supportive and that you feel like you can open up also and tell them about your struggles. And
Yes.
there's a good atmosphere, good working environment. So supporting network is absolutely key. For me, it was vital, I have to say.
Yes, there on the support of supervisor comes in. Like when you get failed, he should be in condition to appreciate you. He should be in condition to tell you that if you get a failure, just try to learn from it and come out of it. It's fine. Even in some research, we publish our failures, not our successes, so that the further people will come to know, we don't need to follow this path because it leads to some failure, or things will not happen if you go this path. What do you say?
That's great. I mean, I wish also we published all even all our negative results, right? When you are working in a lab, for example. But yeah, absolutely. In terms of more generally, just talking about failures as a PhD student, for example, this kind of platform, right? This podcast, just telling your experiences to the wider community or to people that perhaps are now starting. That's very useful for them to learn from your own experiences and failures. So yeah, that's a great initiative.
Yes, exactly. And here comes to the next question. Some people have conception in their mind, like if you go for PhD, we are going to we don't have a like our personal life is not going to exist. Like you have to compromise with your personal life. So is it true that when we join some PhD program, we have to compromise our personal life or time for that, or somehow how you are handling that thing?
Yeah, well, a PhD is surely gonna take up a lot of time. But I think it's also up to you, right? How you want to manage your time and how, if you are willing to compromise also your personal life for your professional life. It will also set the tone, let's say, for the rest of your career. It's very much personal. In my personal experience, I try to balance them both for me to be productive at work. And in my PhD, I also need to keep up, doing my hobbies and having some spare time for myself. I think that's important for most people, either way. Um, and it can be challenging, right? Because you are very invested in your PhD. It was hard to get there. And sometimes you can feel even guilty when you are doing something that is not work. But that's where working on a well-structured routine comes into place. I think it's important to say, okay, so my working hours are, let's say, 9 to 6, 8 to 5, whatever. There may be peaks, of course, of a lot more work or some bits in which you are a bit more relaxed. But then the rest of the time is just for yourself, and you can decide what to do with it. You can, have a drink with friends, just start a new hobby. And then, well, something also that I started doing recently and really helps is exploring time management methods. In particular, I'm working on one called bullet journaling that is based on kind of setting your goals at different time frames. So what do I want to achieve in the next year, for example, or in the next month? And even then day to day. So every day you would sit down and write in a notebook what you want to get from that day, not only from work, but also from your time, also at the personal level. You want to go out with a friend, socialize, or go out for a walk. And then at the end of the day, you would sit down and kind of reflect on that and see what has helped you or what wasn't helpful, perhaps. So that kind of thing I found really helpful.
Yes, amazing plan. This time management is again a tough task that we have to learn, and that should be must, because there will be like very less time, 24 hours in a day. It's very less while we are pursuing your PhD. Most of the time you will be committing to your work only, and again you have to make your time. Like finding we have to monitor ourselves. If we are not wasting a whole day, so at the end of the day we'll be like monitoring what we actually did and what was a requirement for our day. So that's this tracking or the monitoring of self time is going to be matter, and that's amazing. You just gave a very good break for that, for time management. Yes.
Yeah, I hope that
here comes. Yes. So here comes to the last question. What are some tips and strategies you would like to suggest here to the upcoming PhD aspirants who are going to prepare for this PhD programs in big universities, and what that would create a edge over other students?
Okay. Well, first of all, something really important I didn't mention is take your time to decide whether it is for you, right? You want to do a bit of self-reflection and think about who who you are and what you want to do with your career, right? Um, in case you know what you want to get out of it. If you don't worry. Just take your time, and you will find in the way. And for that, it's important again to talk to people. If you know where you want to get, then talk to people that is in that niche, in those careers, and ask them, because a PhD may not be necessary. Now, in case it is necessary, then do a lot of research. Do research about the topic you're interested in. Find out about the programs that would fit you best. And again, be up to date in the topic that you want to study, to show your interest and to outstand among the crowd. Talk to as many people as possible, make contacts. And then lastly, I would say, you know exactly what programs, let's say the 5 programs that you are most interested in, just invest your energy on those 5 specifically. We'll try to be as good as possible in those applications, and prepare them very well. Find someone that can help you, that can review the applications. And also, don't think that the application, in terms of the CV, the cover letter, is not something that you do in a few days or a week. It's a long process. You want to be able to read it in a couple of weeks' time. You want someone to review it. You have to build up on it. And the same for the interview. Think well about the things that you can offer, your strengths, what it is that you want to get out of that PhD, and even ask them also what opportunities are there for you. In my case, for example, in my first year of my PhD, I was interested to get also some kind of industry experience. So it was important for me to have that option. So just ask them, show them what are your aspirations, what are your interests, and the more they know about you, in the better position you are to be a good fit in that program also.
Yes, amazing. These last points are going to help a lot for the PhD aspirant, like upcoming PhD aspirants. And this was a very great podcast with you, Paula. So from starting, covered so many doubts, like which general PhD aspirants is facing, like how to prepare for that, and the strategies and publications and all those things we studied. We discussed it here. So I hope this will help to the upcoming PhD aspirants soon.
Definitely.
So let's.
It was great talking to
Any
you.
more thing? Any more thing you would like to pass in this message here?
No, it was very nice talking to you. I hope this podcast will help people to make up their minds about whether to pursue a PhD, and if they already made up their mind, then that it helps them to go through those applications. And I hope I didn't put off anyone from doing a PhD, because it's also a great experience. I have to say, it's also good fun. You make lots of connections, but you want to make sure it is for you.
Thank you very much, Paula. So here we end this podcast. Okay, thank you very much, Paula. Thanks for joining.